This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, let's start. So in the last class, we have seen what event related to what radio buttons. Okay, now let's see how to design checkboxes. Okay, so see here the requirement is almost similar. Whenever we execute the ABAP program, so this is the ABAP program. On execution of this ABAP program, I should get a selection screen. Okay, so this is the selection screen. On this selection screen, we require the same thing. Assume that we require some two input fields. Enter first number, enter second number. Then we require what check boxes. Earlier we have taken what radio buttons. Now we require check boxes. Okay, with the additions or with the options what addition, difference, product, and what division. Okay, so on executing this ABAP program, it has to generate the selection screen, and the selection screen should contain what input fields and what checkboxes. So what are the validations we require here? Input fields should be defaulted. Okay, input field should be defaulted with some what initial values, and they should be what mandatory. Anyway, we know this. Okay, then on selecting one or more checkboxes, okay, on selecting one or more checkboxes, and upon click of what execute button, okay, we need to perform what the appropriate operation, perform the appropriate operation, and display the same in what output screen, that is inside what LPS list processing screen. So the difference between radio buttons and checkboxes is, in case of checkboxes, user can select what any number of what checkboxes. So when do we go for checkboxes and when do we go for radio buttons is when you want the user to select what multiple options, then we'll go for what checkboxes. Okay, otherwise we'll go for what radio buttons. Okay, so let's see how to do this. Yeah, so let's see this. Right, so I'll give the program name z something program 4. Program 4 is done, so I'll go for 5. Check boxes on what a selection screen. Type of program as usual, I'll choose executable program. I'll save it in the local object. Done. So first, what is the requirement? We require some two input fields. So if you want to go for blocks, we can go for blocks. Otherwise, anyhow, we know those things. I'll directly design the selection screen. Parameters, I'll say p underscore x type I. I'll give some default value. Let me give it as 10, and I'll give this as mandatory by using the keyword what obligatory. Then p underscore y type I, I'll say default something 20. This also let me make it as what obligatory. Done. Then for storing the result, we require one variable. I'll declare one variable. Done. Okay, now we need to design what some checkboxes. Okay, so for designing the checkboxes also we require what parameters keyword. Okay, let me give the name of the checkbox as p underscore c1 as what checkbox. Okay, p underscore c1 as checkbox. Then here we don't any group concept. In case of radio buttons, we have the group concept. So here I'll say as checkbox, P underscore C3 as what? Checkbox, and then P underscore C4 as what? Checkbox. Done. So I have designed what? 4 checkboxes. So if you take a group of radio buttons, in a group of radio buttons, by default, the first radio button is what? Selected. By default, the first radio button is selected. So here, when I design the checkboxes, okay, before this, so let me design some selection text for this. Addition, a difference, product, division, enter first number, enter second number. Done. So we have what? Selection screen with some 4 checkboxes. So in a group of radio buttons, by default, the first radio button is what? Selected. Whereas in case of checkboxes, none of the checkboxes will be selected by default. Understood? So if you want to select some checkboxes by default, here also checkbox will have same thing. Okay, in case of radio button, whenever it is selected, it contains a value as what? X. Here also I'll say default what? X, and here I'll say default what? X. So I'm making first checkbox and third checkbox to be selected by default. So by default, first one and third one is what? Selected. Okay. So what is the value of the second checkbox now? Space, because it is not selected. Fourth checkbox value is also what? Space. So here the user can select what? Any number of what? Checkboxes. Okay. Done. So as usual, what is the next requirement? After selecting one or more checkboxes, when the user clicks on execute button, okay, I need to identify the selected checkbox and display the result. Display the result. Okay. Understood. So already we know whenever we click on the execute button, what is the event triggered? Start of selection. So, okay, so I'll go forward start of selection. Done. Next, I need to check which checkbox is selected. How do you check the conditions? By using what? If else. So I'll say if p underscore c1 equal to what? X. Understood? If p underscore c1 equal to x, I'll perform the addition. V underscore z equal to p underscore x plus p underscore y. Then I'll say right what sum is v underscore z. In case of radio buttons, we were using the condition what? Else if. Why we are using else if? Because in a group of radio buttons, only one radio button can be selected. Understood? So if the first one is not selected, we have to check the second one. If the second one is not satisfied, you have to check the third one. Okay, so there I can select only one radio button at any point of time. But here, the user can select what? Any number of what? Checkboxes. So I need to check the status of each and every checkbox separately. I need to check the status of each and every checkbox separately. So here I need to close this end if here. Am I clear? In case of radio buttons, we were giving it as else if, because we can select only one radio button, but whereas here the user can select any number of checkboxes. So I need to check the status of each checkbox individually. Then here rest of the part is simple. If p underscore c2 is equal to x, p underscore x minus p underscore y, here I'll say something difference is so and so. Then again, if p underscore c3 is equal to x, p underscore x into so and so, I'll say what? Product. Then one second. Yeah, here if p underscore c4 equal to x, p underscore x by p underscore y, I'll give the division is what? So and so. Done. Understood? So I need to check the status of each and every checkbox separately. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing here. Done. So hope it will work. Let me check. Say check for the syntax errors, no errors. Execute this. Okay, so I'll give some values here 44 and 20. I'll choose difference, product and division. I'll choose difference, product and division. So when I execute, I got what? Difference is 24, product is 880, and division is what? 2. So the user can select what? Any number of what? Check boxes. Okay, so let me quickly debug this. Okay, so again let me show you the debugging. What do you mean by debugging? It is a process of checking the program execution step by step. Okay, it is a process of checking the program execution step by step. Okay, so by debugging we can understand the flow of what? Program execution. So how do we debug? In order to debug, we need to set the breakpoints. Okay, so in order to set the breakpoints, the program should be not active state. When I can activate, if there are no syntax errors, I can activate the object, I mean to say the program, then I can set the breakpoints. Okay, so breakpoint I can set it anywhere. I can set in any of the executable statement. I cannot debug variable declarations. All these things comes under what? Variable declarations. This p underscore x, y, v underscore z, all these checkboxes comes under what? Variable declarations. I cannot debug what? Variable declarations. I can debug only executable statements. Okay, so suppose I'll put the breakpoint here, I'll put the cursor here, I'll try to set the breakpoint. Let us see whether the breakpoint is set or not. I'm putting the cursor on the 6th line. I'm setting the breakpoint. It is not setting. It is setting the breakpoint for the report statement. So which means what? I cannot set the breakpoint for the variable declaration. Let me remove the breakpoint. I'll put the cursor. I'll click on what? Set or delete session breakpoint. Okay. So I am interested to debug from here. Okay. Means in which event? Start of selection. When this start of selection event will be triggered, whenever we click on what? Execute button on the selection screen, the start of selection event is what? Triggered. So I'll put the cursor, I'll set what? Session breakpoint. Put the cursor and say set session breakpoint. Yes, breakpoint has been set. Now let me execute. So when I execute, what happens? This parameter statement will be executed. It generates a selection screen. I got the selection screen. Let me provide some values. Right, I'll select the necessary checkboxes. After selecting one or more checkboxes, I'll click on what? Execute button. So whenever I click on the execute button, the event triggered is what? Start of selection. Since I gave the breakpoint in the start of selection, it will stop there. It takes the control to what? Debugging mode. It takes the control to debugging mode. Let me click on execute. Yes, it has taken the control to what? Debugging mode. Understood? So what are the screen we are seeing here? This is the old debugger screen, okay, which is available in the older versions. In the newer version, suppose EHP7 is a new version. In this EHP7, we have the option to work with both the old debugger screen as well as the new debugger screen. Okay, so since we are very new to ABAP, my suggestion is first get used to the old debugger screen. Later on during the course, we'll go for what? Initially we'll use the old debugger screen. Later on we'll be using what? New debugger screen. Okay, so this is my old debugger. How do we switch to new debugger? If I choose debugging, okay, we have the menu debugging. There is what? Switch to what? New ABAP debugger. So when I click on this, it will switch to what? New debugger, where you'll have what? One second. It got stuck. One second. Yeah, so this is my new debugger screen where we'll have many features. Okay, so before we get used to this, first let us understand the old debugger only. So I'll choose the menu what? Debugger what? One second, please. One second. Actually, here only I should have the option. Yeah, you can see in the menu what? Go to. In the menu go to, we have what? Navigate to. Switch to what? Classic debugger. Means switch to old debugger. From the new debugger, I can switch to old debugger. So let me click on this. Yeah, I got what? Old debugger, right? So you can see the arrow pointer. It is trying to execute this statement. Okay, so on my selection screen, how many checkboxes we have? 4 checkboxes. What are the names of the checkboxes? P underscore C1 to P underscore C4. What are the checkboxes I selected? C2 and what? C3. So if you see the values of those variables, see if I type P underscore C1, it is showing it as space because it is not selected. I'll choose P underscore C2. It is showing it as X because we have selected. P underscore C3, again X. P underscore C4, what? Space. Understood? So these are the current values. Right. So it is checking this condition. If P underscore C1 equal to X. How do we execute one statement at a time in the debugger? You can see we have a button on the application toolbar, single step. That is F5. F5 is a key, function key that we need to press to execute what? Single step. So it will try to execute this step. What this step is doing, it is checking the condition. What is the condition? If C1 is equal to X. No, C1 is what? Space. So since if condition is failed, it will not enter the if block. It will not enter the if block. It will go to the next condition. Okay, so let me press F5. Done. So it is going to what? Next if block. What is the condition? If P underscore CT equal to X. Yes, CT is what? X only. Okay, if condition is not satisfied. So it has to enter the if block now. So let me press F5. Done. So it has entered the if block because the condition is satisfied. Now we are doing some calculation here. Before that, let me check the values. What is the value of P underscore X? 24. P underscore Y is what? 20. And if you see V underscore Z, it is what? 0. It is 0. As of now, it default value is what? 0. Now let me execute this. I'll press F5. What I got? V underscore Z is 4. Then I'm executing what? Right statement. What the right statement will do? It will display the result on what? LPS, list processing screen. So let me say F5. Okay, so at the background it might have generated the output. So if you want to, in between, if you want to see the output generated so far, on the application toolbar you can see we have a button, what? Display list. Okay, so let me click on display list. Done. What is that I got? Difference is what? 4. Difference is 4. This is the output generated so far. Let me go back. Done. I'm checking the next condition. If C3 is equal to X, yes, the condition is satisfied. I'll say F5. Okay, now we are doing the product here. So when I say F5, V underscore Z is how much now? 480. Again, I'm printing F5. Done. I got, see the output product is what? 480. I'll go back. I'm checking the other condition. If C4 equal to X, what is the value of C4 here? Space. This condition is not satisfied. So it will not enter the if block. So when I say F5, it is not entering the if block. You can see here the arrow pointer is coming out of that. I'll say F8. I got the results. Okay, let me go back. Understood? So this is the way to do the debugging. We'll see many options going forward. Just I gave a glimpse of that. Any questions in this part, please ask me. Okay, so in this case, what you are doing, we are selecting the checkbox. Okay, we are selecting the checkbox, and after selecting one or more checkboxes, we are clicking on what? Execute button. We are clicking on the execute button. Okay, my next requirement is, okay, let me just save this. Yeah, my next requirement is, Yeah, see here. Okay, let me just save this. Save as. Yeah, next requirement is almost same. Here, earlier thing what you are doing, we are selecting one or more checkbox, and when we click on the execute button only, what you are doing, we are performing the operation and displaying the result. Okay, now my requirement here is, the requirement is, whenever any checkbox is selected, okay, whenever any checkbox is selected, okay, what you have to do, perform the operation, perform the operation and display the result. Perform the operation and display the result. So yesterday we have seen, whenever we select a radio button, the moment you select a radio button, what is the event triggered? At selection screen on radio button group. At selection screen on radio button group. Okay. Similarly, whenever we select a checkbox or whenever I deselect a checkbox, in case of radio buttons, we don't have the option to deselect. See here, if you go back, let me execute the yesterday's program. So in the yesterday's program, if you see, I can only select. I can only select. I cannot deselect this. The moment you select other radio button, the previously selected radio button will be deselected automatically. But whereas if you take this checkbox concept, okay, if you take the checkbox concept, the user can select as well as deselect. Okay, so in case of selection screen checkboxes, whenever the user selects a checkbox or deselects a checkbox, SAP triggers a event called as what? At selection screen. At selection screen, and the function code of that particular checkbox is captured in the system field what? SciUCom. If you have practiced yesterday's example, for the entire group, for the entire radio button group, we are able to assign one function code. How do we assign a function code? User command. So since all of them belong to only one group, I can assign only one function code. But in case of checkboxes, they doesn't belong to any group. Okay, they are independent. So I need to assign separate function code for what? Each and every checkbox. So let me make a copy of this program. Okay, fifth program is in active state, so I'll just copy this fifth program. I'll click on copy button. Let me give it as 6. Okay, select all the checkboxes, continue, change. Yeah, now okay, I don't want any checkbox to be selected by default, so I'm removing this default keyword. Okay, and let me comment the entire part. I'm commenting. How to comment at a time? Select the block of lines and say control less than symbol. Right, it is commented. So I'm designing what? 4 checkboxes. Okay, so what is my requirement now? The moment I select the checkbox, I should display the result either in the information dialog box or I should display it in what? List processing output screen. Am I clear? The moment I deselect, I have to give a message saying that so and so checkbox is what? Deselected. The moment I select, I should display the result. Difference is what? So and so. So we are doing the actions on what? Checkboxes. If you assume this as a radio button, what is the event triggered yesterday? We have seen at selection screen on radio button group. In case of checkboxes, whenever we select or deselect a checkbox, SAP triggers an event called as what? At selection screen. So before that, we need to assign the function codes. Okay, so how do we assign the function code? We have to use an addition called as what? User command. Okay, user command. You can give any function code. Let me give it as what? FC1. I'll give it as FC2. FC3, FC4. So I can assign different function codes for each and every checkbox because they doesn't belong to any group. What is the purpose of assigning the function code? So that we can identify which element was interacted in the runtime, which element, which checkbox was interacted in the runtime. So now what I have to do? Let me save it. No errors. Done. So I just now I told whenever we select or deselect a checkbox, what is the event triggered at selection screen, and the function code will be captured in the system field what psi ucom. So how do we write the logic now? What is the event I have to handle at selection screen? Understood? At selection screen case what psi ucom. Okay, when even though I give the function codes in lowercase here, but when it is captured in the system field psi ucom, it is always captured in what uppercase. That's the reason I have to do the comparison in what uppercase. So when fc1 do so and so, when fc2 do so and so, okay, when fc3 do so and so, okay, when fc4 do so and so. Okay, end for case is what? End case. End for case is end case. Okay, now how do we identify whether the checkbox is selected or deselected? If it contains X, it indicates what? Selected. Otherwise, indicates what? Not selected. So for the time being, let me give the messages. If P underscore C1 is equal to what? X. Okay, I'll just give a message. What? Addition checkbox. What? Selected. Type what? Information message. Okay, else, okay, if it is not selected, obviously it is what? Deselected. So I'll say what? Message. I'll say addition checkbox. What? Deselected. Type what? Information message. Then I'll say end if. Then here similar kind of thing you have to write it for what? Other things. So if P underscore CT equal to X, I'll say what? Difference checkbox is selected, or difference checkbox is what? Deselected. Same is the case for product. If C underscore C3 equal to X, product checkbox selected. Okay, else product checkbox deselected. If C4 equal to X, division checkbox selected. Division checkbox deselected. Done. Right? So now just observe here. Wantedly, let me give this in lowercase. FC1. Okay, this also I'll give it in a lowercase. So FC1, FC2 I'm giving lowercase. FC3 and FC4 I gave it in what? Uppercase. When I'm creating the function codes, I gave it in what? Lowercase. But in the runtime, I said when it is captured in the system field SciUCom, it is always captured in what? Uppercase. It is always captured in uppercase. So let me save, check it 1 second. Yeah, done. So just observe, I got the check boxes. I'll select difference. I'm not getting anything. I'll deselect. I'm not getting anything. Let me select product. What is the message I got? Product checkbox selected. I'll deselect. Product checkbox deselected. I'll select addition. I'm not getting anything. I'll select division. Division checkbox selected. I'll select product. Product checkbox selected. I'll select division. Division checkbox deselected. I'll choose difference. Nothing is happening. I'll deselect. Nothing is happening because I compared it in what? Lowercase. So that condition not satisfied. So to understand this clearly, once again, let me debug this. Okay. So any of these things comes under what? Variable declarations. Okay. This comes under variable declarations. Okay. Whenever we select or deselect a checkbox on the selection screen, what is the event triggered at selection screen? So I'll debug from here. I'll put the breakpoint here. Right, I'm putting the breakpoint for this case statement. Let me execute. Done. Okay, now I'll select product. The moment I select product, what is the event triggered at selection screen? Right, so when I select this, yes, it is stopping there. Okay, since I select product, what is the function code of the product? FC3 na, it will be captured in SciUCom in uppercase. So if you see the value of SciUCom, when I double click, what is the value? FC3. So it will check, do we have any when FC3? It is captured in uppercase. Okay, when I say F5, I'll say F5. It is directly jumping to that particular when block, directly to the appropriate block. When FC3, yes, it is satisfied. Okay, now I'll say F5, done. If P underscore C3 equal to, I have selected only now, what is the value of P underscore C3? X. So it indicates what? Selected, right? So I'll say F5, I'll get the message. Okay, I'll say F5. Okay, so when I say F5, it is executing the logic behind that message. It is going to some standard code which you need not debug. Okay, so to come out of that, I'll say F7. To come out of that standard code, I'm pressing what? F7, right? So again, it is going internal. I'll say F7, F7. Okay, I got the message product checkbox selected. Okay, done. Okay, now let me again select what? Difference here. I'll select difference. Yes, it is stopping there. I selected difference. Now, what is the function code of the difference? FC2. So it is captured in what? Sayukam in uppercase. It is captured in Sayukam in uppercase. But I compared in lowercase. Now, we don't have anything like when FC2 in my conditions. I'm having FC2, but I gave it in lowercase. So none of the case is what? Satisfied. So when I say F5, nothing is happening. It is not going to any block. Okay, so what I'll do is, for your understanding, let me give another thing. Here, when FC4 do so and so, I'll say when others. When others means if none of the when statement is satisfied, if none of the when statement is satisfied, control comes to what? When others. So I'll say something message. None of the checkboxes what selected or what deselected. Something type what I. Okay, save it, check, done. So I'll put the breakpoint once again. Observe this. Okay, done. I'll say effect. Yeah, wantedly I'll select difference. What is the event triggered? At selection screen. Control is going there. See the value of SciUCom. What is the value? FC2. It is in uppercase. Do we have any when FC2 in uppercase? No. Since none of the when is satisfied, control goes to what? When others. So when I say F5, directly the control is going to what? When others. So when I say F8, I got the message what? None of the checkbox selected, but actually I selected what? So the understanding is always when you're checking for the SciUCom value, always you compare that function code in what? Uppercase. Because in the runtime it is captured in what? Uppercase. Okay, so now I'll select difference. I got different checkbox selected. I'll select product checkbox selected. I'll select addition checkbox selected. I'll deselect product. I got product checkbox deselected. Rest of the logic you write it as an exercise. What is that? You have to do the calculation and display that result in the message only. Yesterday I wrote that logic na, same logic you have to write. Am I clear? But the main focus here is what? What is the event triggered related to selection screen? At selection screen. What is the event related to radio buttons? At selection screen on radio button group. At selection screen on radio button group. Okay, and whenever we click on the execute button, what is the event triggered? Start of selection. And we already know about initialization event. So this is, I'll just remove this. Rest of the code, you write it as an exercise. Anyway, I wrote it yesterday. Same thing you have to incorporate here. Instead of giving the messages, whenever it is selected, you display the result in the message box. Any questions, please ask. No questions. Okay, fine. So we understood about checkboxes, radio buttons, and some of the events related to what? Selection screen. What are the events you have seen so far? Initialization event, start of selection, at selection screen on radio button group, And just now we have seen what? Add selection screen event. Add selection screen event. Okay. Now, next what I'll do is, next requirement, quickly let me do it. Same thing. I require what? Whenever I run my ABAP program, okay, I should have a selection screen, okay, which should contain same kind of thing. It should contain what? Input fields, first number, second number, and I should have one more input field, addition, okay, and I should have some buttons here. I should have some push buttons, addition, something clear, and something what? Exit. Okay, so I want something like this. I require what? Some push buttons and some input fields. Okay, so what is the focus now? We should know how to design these push buttons. We should know what is the event triggered when I click on this particular push button. So let me quickly do it. Done. So first, as usual, we require what? Some three input fields. So I'll say parameters, what? P underscore X type I, P underscore Y type I, and I'll take another variable P underscore Z type I. I'll make the first two fields as what? Obligatory. Obligatory. Let me give some default values also. I'll say something default 20, and here I'll say something default 10, something. Okay, done. Now, what is the other requirement? I require what? Push buttons. Na? I require some push buttons. How many push buttons I require? 3 push buttons. How do we design this? Here. Selection screen. Try to understand. Push button. Selection screen push button. From which position you want to start the push button? I want to start from 6th position. Let me reserve some 12 space width. 6 of 12 means starting from the 6th position from the left hand side. Reserve what? 12 what? 12 characters width. 12 characters width. 6 of 12. For every radio button we are giving a name. For every checkbox we are giving a name. For every input field we are giving a name. Similarly for buttons also I'll give the name as a B1. And for every button you have to associate the function code. How do we associate? Same thing, user command. I can give anything, but as a practice I'll give fc1 fc2 kind of thing. Like this, I require how many push buttons? I require what? 3 push buttons. Okay, or else I want to do like this. In the first line I should have 2 push buttons. Okay, in the second line I should have what? Another push button. Not in the same line, I want it in the what? In a separate line. In the next line I want it something like this I want. Okay, so see what I'll do. Since I want this clear button in the same line, okay, you have started from 6th position. We are reserving what? 12 spaces, means 18 spaces are completed. After that I want to give some space, so I'll start from what? 20th position. I'll start from 20th position. Again I'll give 12 what? Characters width. I'll give the name of the button as B2. Function code I'll get to what? FC2. Then I want it in the next line. So what I'll do? I'll say selection screen skip 1. It will skip what? 1 line. If I say skip 2, it will skip what? 2 lines. Since it is a new line now, again I can start from what? 6th position. Let me give the button name as B3. Function code I'll give it as what? FC3. So let me save it, check for the syntax, activate this. Okay, done. So we are able to design. What happened? Good. I got an error, boss. I got an not a syntax error. I got the activation error. What is the activation error I got? Error when generating the selection skin 1000. Error when generating the selection screen 1000. So far for the last 2-3 days we are discussing about what selection screen. Okay, this selection screen number is always what 1000. Okay, SAP will associate the number as what 1000. So for every screen in SAP you'll have the screen number. For selection screen, what is the number? Always 1000. So what is the activation error I'm getting? Error when generating the selection screen 1000 of the report 7. Understood? So there's the problem in activating the selection screen. So let me cancel this, cancel this, cancel this. So why we will get the activation error means, why we will get the activation error means, if one element is overlapping on another element, if one element is overlapping on another element, you will get the activation error. Understood? So what I'll do is, I think the problem is here. So this push buttons, let me start from new line. How do you start from a new line? Simply say what? Slash. I'll say slash. Let me check it now. Check it, done. When I execute, good. Now I got it. Am I clear? Slash indicates what your new line. Otherwise, what happens is, after designing this third input field, this push button also it will try to place in the same line, in the same third line only. Okay, and where you are starting here, you're trying to start from sixth position. Already in the sixth position, there is a label and so on so. So it will try to overlap. So you are getting what? Activation error. So you can observe now, I got it immediately after the next line. I want more space. What I'll do is again slash. I'll say what? Selection screen. What? Skip one. Skip one. Okay. This I'll start from some 10th position so that I'll get it in the middle. Execute this. Done. I got the thing. It is not skipping. Let me say skip 2. Good. It has skipped what? 2 lines. Hope it's clear up to this. Any questions, please ask me. Okay, done. So we are able to design the push buttons. Okay, what are the names of the buttons? B1, B2 and what? B3. What are the function codes of the button? FC1, FC2 and FC3. So when I execute, done, I got it. For the buttons you have to give the labels. Na? How do you associate the labels? Already we know the first event triggered is what? Initialization. So as I will handle the initialization event, in the initialization event I'll initialize my screen elements. So I'll say B1 is equal to something what? Addition. B2 is equal to something clear. B3 is equal to what? Something what? Exit. So when I execute, done, I got the labels. Okay, suppose here I'm starting the button from 6th position. We are reserving what? Some 12 characters width. So 6 of 12 means what? 18 positions are occupied from the left hand side. Now this button I'll try to start from 15th position. Second button in the same line I'm trying to add from 15th position. So the second button will try to sit on top of first button, because first button itself is occupying up to 18th position starting from the left hand side. Second button starting from the left hand side, you are trying to place in 15th position. So now also what happens? You'll get the activation error. You'll not get the syntax error. You'll get the activation error. Okay, when I try to activate, I am getting an activation error. Error when generating the selection screen 1000. So whenever we get this activation error, related to selection screen, you have to understand that one element is trying to overlap on what? Another element. You have to understand that one element is trying to overlap on what? Another element. So you need to go back and check in the code where exactly we are trying to overlap. So here only, understood? So let me give meaningful spaces. Done. Execute. Done. So when I execute, I got it. What is the next requirement? If I click on this, I should perform the sum. So related to buttons also, whenever we click on the selection screen buttons, The event triggered is what? At selection screen. Just like for checkbox also, it is at selection screen event. For push buttons also, it is what? At selection screen event. Okay, so I'll say at what? At selection screen. At selection screen. Same concept again. What is that? The function code is captured in the system field. So I'll say case what? SciUCom when FC1. Case SciUCom when what? FC1 means you have clicked on addition button. When FC2 you clicked on clear button. When you click on exit button, it is FC3. End for case is what? End case. End for case is end case. So when FC1 I want to perform the addition, display it in the third variable. What is the third input field on the screen? P underscore Z. So I'll say when FC1 P underscore Z is equal to P underscore X plus P underscore Y. If I click on the clear button, I should clear all the input field values. So there is a statement, there is a keyword called as clear. I'll use a chain operator. I'll try to clear all my screen fields, P underscore X, P underscore Y, P underscore Z. Okay, and when I click on the exit button, I should come out of the program execution. So we have a built-in statement called as what? Leave program. Okay, we have a built-in statement leave program. So let me check it. So the main thing here is whenever we click on the push buttons on the selection screen, what is the event triggered at selection screen? Just like what? Checkboxes. So when I execute, see now I'll click on exit button. Yes, we are able to come out of the program. I'll click on addition. I got the result. I'll click on clear. I'm able to clear the values. Let me enter some input values. I'll click on addition. Working fine. Clear. Exit. Exit will not work now because exit will not work because these two are what? Mandatory. Okay, I cannot exit. Okay, I'll try to click on cancel button here, which is there on the standard toolbar. I'm able to cancel, but I cannot exit. I can do forceful exit, but I cannot do graceful exit because some of the fields are what? Mandatory fields. So in this example, we understood how to design the push buttons. We understood that activation error. What is that activation error we are getting? Whenever one element is trying to overlap on another element, you'll get that particular activation error. And we understood what is the event triggered related to what? Selection screen push button. What is the event? Same event at selection screen. Any questions? Please ask me. Any questions? Another way to provide names for the push buttons. You mean to say labels? No, Amshid, no, we can't. We can't. A frame title also we are providing in the initialization event only, na? Frame title also, I think I provided in the initialization event only. If you go back to the program, this is a title variable T1, where I am providing the title in the initialization event only, I think. Yes, in the initialization event only. For a frame title also, I am able to provide that only in the initialization event. Done. And one more thing I want to convey is here, don't worry about the sequence of the syllabus. Okay, so if you see the sequence of the syllabus, okay, so if you observe here, we have string functions, basic statements, and then I gave structures, dictionary objects. Okay, somewhere I gave what selection screen programming. Okay, so it is not possible to cover the syllabus in the same sequence. Okay, but at the end of the course we'll be covering almost everything. Okay, so don't worry about the sequence of the syllabus. I'll be jumping from here and there. Okay, suppose here if you take the basic statement, we understood about data, right, constant, parameter statements and their attributes, that is obligatory, default, all those things. We have seen conditional statements. What are the conditional? We have seen if else and what, case, end cases. We have seen checkboxes and what, radio buttons. And related to checkboxes and radio buttons, we have the events na? So we have seen how to do that. Okay, so event handling in what, selection screen. What are the events we have seen? Initialization, at selection screen, at selection screen, on radio button group. Okay, all those things. Okay, start of selection, right? So we have seen how to create the push buttons and what labels. So I'll be jumping from here and there, so don't worry about the syllabus sequence. Again, if you take string function, somewhere we have seen yesterday what, concatenate this thing. We have seen string length. Okay, so depending on the requirement, I'll be using the appropriate things. Done. So far what we did is we discussed the basic keywords, like what we have seen, data statement, we have seen what constants, we have seen what parameters. Okay, and then what are the other things we discussed? We have seen conditional statements, like we have seen how to work with if else if and what, case, end case. And then we discussed what, selection screen elements, like what, how to design the input fields, how to design what, checkboxes, how to design what, radio buttons, how to design what, push buttons. Okay, and we have seen how to design selection screen blocks. All this comes under what, selection screen elements. Then we have seen what, selection screen what, events, like what, initialization event. Okay, and we discussed at selection screen event, and at selection screen what, on a radio button group. Okay, and we have seen what, start of selection. Okay, and we discussed about what, function codes concept. Okay, so I'll be following my own sequence, so understood. So Monday onwards we'll see the other things. Clear? So next class will be again on Monday, and from Monday onwards I'll try to start the class by 6:35. Okay, I'm starting around 6:45 or sometimes 6:50, but Monday onwards I'll try to start by 6:35. So be available by 6:35. I'll try my level best to start by 6:35 so that we can discuss more content till 7:45. Okay, done. So I'm winding off for today. We'll continue on Monday. If you want, you can do this exercise here. The exercise is, suppose, just try to understand this. I'm giving 17 years. So what happens? 6 of 12 means up to 18, the first button is occupied. Second button you are trying to place from 17th position. It will try to overlap. Na? So when I do syntax check, no errors. When I'm trying to activate, I'm getting the activation error. Okay, but by looking at this activation error, can you tell me where exactly is the problem? No, na. It is simply saying that error when generating selection screen 1000 of the report 7. Understood? So by looking at this, I cannot tell exactly where the element is overlapping. So your exercise is, since I know, I directly went to that particular place and I adjusted this. But if you are new, by looking at this, I don't understand where exactly is the problem. So what is your exercise is, identify whether SAP has given any standard program, which gives me the detailed information about this activation error. Hope it's clear to everyone. Identify, there are many standard programs given by what? SAP itself. So there might be one standard program which will give you the detailed information about this activation error. So that by looking at the detailed information, I can understand where exactly is the problem. So identify that particular standard program. So how do we approach? Okay, see, there are thousands of programs. I cannot identify that. So just you have to Google it. Go to Google and say standard program in SAP for identifying the activation error, something like that. Okay, there you may get some inputs. Identify from there. Try to execute that program. For example, okay, I said standard program. Na? Suppose I am having a program rbdim okay, this is the standard program given by what? SAP. It is not starting with Z or Y. So when I execute, it is running something. Okay, similarly you will have one standard program. Identify that standard program. When you execute that standard program, it will ask you your program name. It will ask you your program name. If you give your program name and execute, it will show you the detailed information where exactly is the error available. So try to let me know that answer in the next week, that is on Monday. Am I clear? So identify the standard program given by SAP which will give you the detailed information about the activation error. Hope it's clear to everyone. The exercise. Srikant, Vamshi, and others. So identify that particular standard program. There is one standard program, so you identify that particular standard program. So how do we approach? I cannot check it here. I cannot check in SC38. If I say star and say F4, it will give me thousands of programs. It is not possible to identify here. Just open Google and search there. Standard SAP program for identifying the activation error. Something like that. Use different keywords and try to search that. You'll get the inputs, so that you'll get habituated how to identify the standard programs. Done? So if you don't have any questions, I'll wind up for today. We'll continue again on Monday around 6:35. Right? Chalo then. So winding off, we'll continue on Monday. Srikant, today we don't have ANA class. Okay? 9:30 class is there. 9:30 Oops ABAP is there, but ANA class is not there. Okay? Chalo then. So I'll wind off. We'll continue on Monday. New batch for ANA. Actually, there are 3 batches in pipeline, Vamshi. One is ANA, UEFI, and Cross Apps. But timing issue is there. I'll finalize that in another 4-5 days. So all these 3 batches are supposed to start by August 1st. So if any information is there, our people anyhow will mail everyone. Okay, so by August 1st, these 3 batches will start: UEFI, ANA, and cross applications. So I'll wind off. We'll continue on Monday at 6:35.